Hello, this is the Unit D quiz breakdown, and we're going to have 25 questions on the Unit D quiz. Questions 1 through 17 will probably mostly be from information found in the Google Doc for Chapter 11, but some of the questions can be found both in the Google Doc for Chapter 11 and the Google Doc for Article 1 of the original constitutional language. Question 18 is from our Congress slideshow, and question 19 through 25 are almost specifically from the original language of the Constitution in Article 1, and the best way to find out information there is with my Google Docs. Okay? Now, make sure you have these two documents ready to go when you take the quiz. So on the left, we have the Google Doc for Constitution Article 1 with annotations, and on the right, we have the Google Doc for Congress Chapter 11. Now, the next few slides, we're going to have 4 examples of questions with test-taking strategies for whether it's the Unit D quiz or beyond. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, way up on top, dear Mr. Sisk, most students think false multiple choice questions are torture. That's true. My wife helps me to make sure that questions and answers make sense, and she just can't stand the false ones or pick the one that is not true. Well, that's too bad. And so the question here is, which statement is false? Okay. Now, some of us who have really read over and studied the two Google Docs and the reading and videos of this unit, you may know a lot of this by heart, but most of us don't. Okay. So I'm just going to show us that if we don't know something, how we prove it to ourselves instead of guessing. Okay. So the top answer choice there are no election rules set forth in Article 1 concerning voting rights, which led to state governments not allowing certain groups to vote. So, I mean, like the first 150 years, minorities really couldn't vote in our national elections. And for the first 130 years, women could not vote in our national elections. So those rules all came from state laws. And there's a reason for that. If we look up at the very top in the original language of the Constitution, it says the time, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and reps shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations. So that says election rules and voting rules are made up in states. And so if a state wanted to take 190 years to not let minorities or women vote, a state could have done that unless the Congress would have thought it was so terrible that it would step in. Okay. So that first one is true. The second one, 2/3 of both chambers of Congress have to vote for a vetoed bill in order to override the presidential veto. Huh. Well, is it majority or 2/3 or 3/4? And if we go to the bullet point with the small letters, that basically says there from the original language that both houses have to vote 2/3 to overturn a presidential veto. So the first and second are true. Article 1, the third. Article 1 set up a bicameral Congress where the House of Reps is liked by big states, and the states with low population, they really like the Senate. Okay. Now, that type of wording is not going to be in the original Constitution, but it will be in the analysis, the historical analysis in Chapter 11. So we go down to the underline item there. The upper house, the Senate, was to have two members from each state. This soothed the fears of the small states. In the lower house, the House of Reps, membership would be proportional to the population in each state. This measure protected the interest of the large states. Ta-da. And let's go to the very last one. Skip the fourth one. A veto is a presidential check on the political power of Congress. And if we go down to the very bottom, it shows how Congress can get a law vetoed by the president. Okay. So now let's go to the fourth one. The Article 1 in the Constitution set up perfect election rules. Oh, that's silly. In 1787 that have worked perfectly in every election in America since 1787. Now, down at the very bottom, most answers with always, perfect, never, and every are usually wrong in my class and almost any other class because any human reality is rarely 100% or 0%. Okay? All right. Bing, bing. Uh, Go to the sentence that is underneath the top paragraph. And it says, this is a reverse causation type of question. So instead of the left causing the right causes the left. And that's why we have a backwards arrow. The right causes the left. Let's do the one where the arrow is pointing. So here is the after effect in the Constitution. The Constitution says 3/5 of all other persons. So, of course, this deals with slavery and the disagreement between North and Southern states. And so, if we go down in the answers, the top one there, slave states and non slave states debated over how much representation in the House of Reps should slaves count as. Bingo. That caused the delegates of the Constitutional Convention to put in that ridiculous 3/5 rule. Now, let's go to the other left side. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the U.S., which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Reps. So, why the heck does the United States have a national legislature that's in two parts? Well, it was a problem between big and small states at the Constitutional Convention. So if we go down to the answers, the bottom one, the great compromise between small states with few people and big states with lots of people, that produced the compromise that gave us both the Senate and the House of Reps. Okay? Ah, what is the key word to find in the question? Well, let's read the question in the top of the blue box. Which two parts of the national government in Washington, D.C. work in a bicameral situation? So the key words are national government, Washington, D.C., or bicameral. Now, which would I want to use the find function for? Um, National government might be in chapter 11 uh, 30 times. And Washington, D.C. was not in the original document because there was no Washington, D.C. in 1787. So why don't we try bicameral? Now, that is a political science analysis word. So that's not in the original Constitution, it's in a political science textbook. So we're going to try to find bicameral in the original constitutional language, my Google Doc. So when we try to find it with the find function, uh, says about the bicameral two-chamber Congress made up of a House of Reps and the Senate. Okay. And it's also here, also bicameral, Senate, and the House. Okay. So we look at the answers, we find the one with the House of Reps and Senate. Okay. And then that little brown cloud, that just means the answer is silly and you would disregard that. Our last example, read the actual words of Article 1 below in green bold print. Then pick the answer which best describes the situation in the quote. Okay. Notice the brown cloud down there, a movement in the force. This is not Star Wars. Okay. Now, look at the green language. With the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Now, most readers who are a little lazy and they know a little bit, but not too much, they'll go, oh, that's impeachment. So that's probably the second one. This rule comes from the House of Reps being able to convict a president of a crime. Well, actually, that's wrong. The House of Reps can only offer an impeachment, which doesn't mean to kick him out of office and convict him. It just means uh, then the Senate is going to have to be the jury in a trial of the president. Um, let's see. Right. Okay. So let's look up either concurrence, 2/3, or a member. And since this comes from the original language, let's look up the original language. So this is my Google Docs for Article 1. And here is 2/3 first when we try to find it. And no person, now this is talking about the president, and no president shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Look at that. Concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. So some people are going to go, oh, I quickly read over that. I'm not going to think about it too much. And so that must be impeachment. So it's the second one. But the second one is wrong because the House does not convict a president. So there's two reasons why that is wrong. So you look at 2/3 and you go, not so sure about that. That doesn't look right. And so 2/3, it's in the it's in the original language like 5 times. You can see up there with a find function. Okay. Now look at this 2/3. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, like drunkenness or they get arrested for lewd behavior. And here it comes with a concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Okay. So now we go back one, two. Look at the very bottom one. The Senate or House of Reps may expel a member from their chamber for bad behavior. There it is, the last one. Okay. And then the blue little cylinder there, that's also silly. Freedom of speech is not allowed in the Senate or House of Reps. What? Yeah, silly. So if someone went too quickly, they would miss that the House of Reps cannot convict a president. So that has to be wrong. They would miss that expel a member is not the same as of the members present. And so this took careful reasoning and reading. And that's why you allow yourself an hour to an hour and a half. If you haven't done much of this work, maybe 2 to 2.5 hours for these quizzes on Tuesdays, especially. I mean, you're not going to take the quiz on Monday unless you have a crazy work schedule on Tuesday, or if you're 100% prepared by Sunday night. Most of you are going to take it on Tuesday. So, okay, thank you. We did a good job there. Okay.